SPV3 Part 2 is something we have been very excited about since we first got our look at Halo 4, and the whole idea of a new sandbox with new enemies and weapons became something we weren't just excited to experience, but also wanted to create, being able to finally flex our creative muscles and do something that we felt was unique and creative, and not just a further variation of things we had previously done. At first, we only planned on overhauling the Flood, but as the flaws in 343's approach to the Prometheans became more and more apparent, our vision has become much bolder. With the Flood, we knew from the beginning that we wanted more diversity in their AI, and to take advantage of the new ability to make AI transform, which we weren't able to fully exploit in the first half of the game versus the Covenant. The first thing we wanted to do was to expand the Flood's ranks to give each form its own unique AI and properties. Since we wanted to make sure that all forms of the Covenant could be infected and transformed by the Flood, we reverted to the idea that the Carrier form was the infected grunt as originally intended by Bungie. The Elite and the Human combat forms have their own distinct set of AI properties to more closely resemble the species' original behaviors. Elite forms have shields and can pull away to recharge, while the human forms focus on ranged weaponry and are more fragile than before. The new Brute form retains all the classic Halo 1 Flood combat form characteristics. Jackals have always been the odd species out, never having been given an infected form outside of Halo Wars. We came up with the idea of the Jackal Carrier form, a new unit that can drop from ceilings and walls, and when killed releases more infection forms. Other ideas in development are things such as combined forms and environmental hazards the Flood will be able to bring to areas. In addition, the majority of Flood forms will have a headshot region available, just like in Halo 3. With the Flood receiving such a massive overhaul, we felt we also needed to beef up the Sentinel forces. Given the mixed reactions to the Prometheans in Halos 4 and 5, we felt after a fair amount of brainstorming that there was much we could do with several of the concepts presented in the 343 games. In addition to revising the standard Sentinel and the Enforcer presented in Halo 2, we've also added two new ranks to the Sentinel forces. These are the new Sentinel Knight and the Sentinel Soldier. Unlike the Promethean Soldier and Knight, these units are designed with the Bungie Forerunner aesthetic in mind and created uniquely for the Battle of Installation 04 by 343 Guilty Spark, as described in the terminals and Assault the Control Room when played on Noble difficulty. Soldiers take advantage of the new AI upgrades we've added to the engine, and can change their form at will based on how they assess their environment and the state of a battle. Knights are commanders of what we call Sentinel Squads, and lead troops as you would expect a Covenant Elite to. Soldiers take the role that Jackals normally would, and the standard Sentinel takes the role of the Grunt. The Sentinel Enforcer, only previously seen in Halo 2, have been added to the mod. They have the ability to open up slip space ruptures in order to drop in more troops. But we're not just stopping at new enemies, you can also expect to find several new weapons. While we have included the heavy machine gun and the flamethrower to the human arsenal, we've also revisited several of the Forerunner weapons that have been seen throughout the franchise. The Sentinel Beam, Suppressor, Incineration Cannon, and an all-new weapon currently titled the Scatter Sniper are all currently planned and prototyped. There are two key elements that make these different than what you've seen from other Forerunner weapons in the series. The first being that each one has its own incendiary properties. Sentinel beams will light flesh on fire, suppressors will kill and ignite targets who have taken too much damage in a short period of time. The incineration cannon leaves burning residue, much like the firebomb grenade from Halo 3 did. The scatter sniper can also light targets aflame if they've taken enough hits from either its shotgun fire mode or its sniper mode in a short period of time. The second unique thing about these Forerunner weapons is they use a unique ammo system that neither plays like human or Covenant weapons. They use a new system that we call recharging ammo. For weapons like the Scatter Sniper, the longer you wait between pulls of the trigger will result in higher damage and longer discharge of the weapon. For weapons like the Sentinel Beam and the Suppressor, you start with a very large clip, but you have to monitor how you're using it, otherwise you'll find yourself waiting for the gun to recharge. These weapons typically have around a 10-second recharge rate until it's at max ammo again. SPV3 Part 2 will be coming out next year. Part 1 is currently available on our subreddit.